Okay, so today we'll cover the breadbasket. Basically, most of the Great Plains here, found in the middle region of the United States, covers about 14 states there. Quick history of the area. Most of it was purchased during the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 by Thomas Jefferson. That purchased about 11 of the 14 states there. We give special thanks to Monroe, Livingston, and Marbois who signed the treaty there. As we know, the grid plan system was used on the western development of the United States. We first see the grid plan in 1811 when they were developing most of New York, Manhattan areas. The grid plan is good because it's easy to identify your land. It's good for expansions of suburbs. Later we'll see how we get cars, automobiles. It's easy to maneuver around there. Some of the ancestry and ethnicity found in the area. During the 1600s, 1700s, a lot of German ancestors traveled into the United States. Why? Because they were pushed out of Europe. There was no land for them to farm. Most of them were Lutheran and Methodist. Lutheran and, so religious persecutions as well. We moved to some of the language here. As we said, Germans are found in most of these states in the breadbasket. Once again, they brought their language with them as well. Spanish obviously dominates most of it, but German also is found in the Dakotas up there in the northern half of the breadbasket. And once again, as most of the Germans migrated into the area, they brought forth Lutheran, found in the northern half, moving to some of the Methodists. And then the southern half of the breadbasket, we see lots of Catholics and Baptists into Oklahoma. This here is just a shield for the Lutheran religion there.
If you look at a topographic map of the United States, you see that there's actually quite a drastic elevation change throughout the breadbasket, but there's not really much going on inside. So that means that it's basically very flat, but it's not at all level. This picture on the corner was ironically named Mount Sunflower. It's the highest point in Kansas, but as you can see, calling it a hill is a stretch. During the 1930s, from all the plowing and everything, they had what we call the Dust Bowl. The plowing loosened all the soil, and large winds would come through and create what were known as black blizzards or black rollers. This caused thousands of farmers to migrate into the cities, but if you know your history, this was during the Depression, and it didn't work out there either. The United States has over 10 times as many tornadoes as any other country in the world. Most of them are in Tornado Alley. This area is perfect for tornadoes because of all the cold, dry air coming down from Canada, all the warm, moist air coming up from the Caribbean, meeting over flat land. In the Dakotas, there's a new thing called, or relatively new thing called fracking, or short for hydraulic fracturing. Basically, you drill deep into the earth and fire like high-pressure water down there to shatter the rock, and then collect all the natural gas that's trapped in the rock. The problem is there's a lot of environmental effects, such as you saw, flammable gas leaking into the water. Like most of the population is situated around the edges, so that's where a lot of the sports teams are located, such as like Denver, Dallas, Kansas City, St. Louis, and Minneapolis. I know that there is a IndyCar race.
Part of the breadbasket is called the Corn Belt because it's dominant crops of corn and soybeans. It has level lands, fertile soil, and organic materials. And with the conditions of the hot days and warm nights and the rainfall, the crops are able to grow. The corn is also used to feed livestock, and it's also called the feed grain in livestock regions. FFA was founded in Kansas City in 1928 by 33 cowboys, and there's a lot of different livestock in the area, like buffalo just roaming around in different parts of it. The 18% of the world's wheat comes from Kansas, North Dakota, Saskatchewan, and Oklahoma. Saskatchewan gives most of the wheat to Canada, as you can tell by their coat of arms, which has wheat in it. And as that shows over there, the Mall of America is in Bloomington, Minnesota, and is on the area that once stood the Metropolitan Stadium, which was for the Twins and the Vikings. It has 520 plus stores in it and brings in $2 billion each year. And it has the amusement park, a water park, hotels, also SeaWorld. Beer consumption is large in the breadbasket area. As of 2012, North Dakota they drank the most amount of beer in the United States. They only have 4 breweries, in their stay, and there's not many breweries in the Breadbasket area except for right along the edges.
This here is of the windmill population that they have going on. The U.S. generates electricity through the windmills, and the top states are Iowa, North and South Dakota, Minnesota, and Kansas. South Dakota leads in the wind power production by making 22% of its electricity. This here is also another map of the population. As you can see here, it is more dense towards the west coast versus the the east coast versus the west coast. As the Great Plains, has more space for the ag life that is going on there. The Germans migrated to the west coast around the 1820s and through World War I. Nearly 60 million Germans came over and they farmed over here because the land was more fertile and more stable, and they felt more suitable in that area. National parks that they have there, and the Breadbasket, Mount Rushmore, Badlands, and Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse is eventually going to be the largest stone sculpture in the world. It's going to be larger than the 4 heads on Mount Rushmore. This here is just a little fun map that we found. Just kind of things that stood out was the dive bars and serial killers in the area. We have the drunks up north in the Wisconsin area. And then you can see here, people that make cheese, the mountains and meadows, and some animals. It's just something pretty fun and trendy that's going on. So then, yeah.